All right. Well, thank you for joining today. My name is Philip Zamora. I'm the clinician here at Trusted Hearing Center. And today I have Widex representative Kyle Harber, AUD, coming in from Tulsa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
So how was the drive?
Oh, not too bad. We tried to do most of it at night so that the kids would sleep through it. But I brought down my family with me on this particular trip,
Oh, awesome.
and yeah, it's not too bad of a drive. Just open highways.
Yeah. How long have you been with Widex?
It's smidge over 2 years. I came on in the summer of 2018 with Widex.
Okay. What got you into Widex? Why Widex?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I started off as a clinical audiologist there at an ENT clinic in Tulsa, and always had a big interest in Widex from grad school on. Patients just reacted different to Widex, and it was something that sparked my interest along the way. And I think the biggest thing is when I fit someone with a Widex product, you just kind of see them sit back in their chair and relax a little bit more. It's almost more of that natural hearing that they were enjoying.
How long did you fit before moving in with Widex?
Yeah, I fit professionally for 2 years after the degree, but I did quite a bit of fitting as I ran the hearing aid technology lab there at University of North Texas.
Okay. So a lot of real on-hand experience with fitting Widex and some others, and you found that Widex was had more impact?
Yeah, I just noticed patient responses to it and receptiveness to it. I saw a better success there, and so it sparked my interest enough to look at it and pursue a career with them. So far, it's been a wonderful journey. But before that, my research was sponsored through a Sonova company at the University of North Texas. But that was just they were investing in research, and it paralleled with what we were looking into. So that research study turned out great too.
Right.
But lots of hands-on experience. Yes, sir.
Did you find that patients that were newer patients or patients that were experienced patients found more of a difference when being fit?
Widex versus others?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Or they both probably have the
pros
same.
on both. Sometimes it was nice to see the difference between they'd already tried out another manufacturer before, and then they get to kind of see the Widex difference. You might get responses like, "Oh, like this is how I remember hearing to be." But with our newer technology, we've seen a ton of success with new patients. Where in the past it might have a little more trouble with adapting to technology. It's a lot to take on if you're a patient coming into a clinic.
And you want to hear like you're 20 years old again.
Yeah, and a lot of times they'll come in with unrealistic expectations, and it's our job as clinicians to guide their path and make sure it's a successful journey.
Right.
And so with that, I've seen success with both new and experienced patients.
Okay. So tell us about the Widex Moment. That's the newest product out there.
Yeah.
And it's rechargeable, and I have some demos here, and it looks really good.
Well, I appreciate the kind words on that. I can't say that I engineered it myself, but the team with Widex is very impressive with this product line, and I've been impressed really every step of the way. I was introduced to it in March, and at that point, I was a regional sales manager with the company, and due to COVID, we've seen a little bit of a shakeup through our territory. But as far as the product goes, it is incredible. Yes, it's rechargeable, like you said, but that's kind of just, oh, by the way, it's rechargeable. Right. What we love about it is we're preserving that sound quality and that pure sound for our patients so that they can have success.
Right.
Rechargeability to me is just a way of powering the device. And so with that, we come out in many different form factors from CIC all the way through the rechargeable one that you discussed.
I think for Widex patients that were fit in the past and wanted rechargeability, maybe the Z Power might have been a little bit of a turnoff. But now with the built-in lithium ion, looking to upgrade from that Z Power, I mean, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, I think when you look at the power supply for a hearing aid, it does really matter to patients when they're evaluating all their different options. And so I think just about every manufacturer had some hurdles to go over and stumbling blocks with Z Power for patients. And so when we switched to that lithium ion, it did offer some more versatility for maybe those patients that have dexterity issues or things like that. But it's nice to be able to offer the smallest lithium ion on the market and what it can come through with for that after having Z Power.
And it is the smallest.
That's what I've seen so far, and due to COVID, I haven't had a really hands-on with the others. But when released, it was the smallest on the market. And
Right.
as far
It's
as
very thin.
Yeah.
So for those concerned with glasses and masks, I mean,
Absolutely,
it shouldn't get in the way at all.
Real estate back there when you're fitting, especially during a pandemic and masks. But what I love about it is, in the past, when we look at lithium-ion hearing aids, they are inherently bigger.
Yeah.
When you compare it to our 312 device, though, they're almost the exact same size. And so for their ability and ingenuity to be able to go in and make it the same size and still fulfill all the needs of the patient, I think they've done a wonderful job with it.
And a very small charging case as well.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the technology inside. So what is the difference in the Moment compared to the last generation?
Sure. So in the past, we were using an Evoke platform. It did a wonderful job. It was a hearing aid that provided great natural sound for the patient. And I think it was preferred by maybe 92% or so of patients in noise. And that's really one of the most difficult situations and one of the most highly sought after situations for your patients. So when you look at that versus the new platform, you're thinking, okay, well, what's different besides a battery? And like I said before, lithium ion, it's not necessarily an afterthought, but really it's, oh, by the way, we also have lithium ion. What they've been able to deliver is what we're calling pure sound. And so that's one of the biggest steps forward in our processing speed. So before in the industry, we already had the fastest processing speed, and it helps limit artifact and distortion through how we produce that sound for our patients. But when we go from where we are at to 0.5 milliseconds and how we process speed that quickly, it delivers a sound that's never been available in the hearing industry.
Can you talk a little bit about artifact for those patients out there that want to know, that real difference that Widex brings?
Sure. So artifact is something that's often combated in the hearing industry. Is you're trying to amplify sounds in real time for a patient based off of a prescriptive hearing loss, and that's no easy feat by any means. And what they've been able to do is, we had something before called the comb filter effect. That comb filter effect is caused by two different signals getting to the eardrum at the same time. And when those two signals hit the eardrum and they're off by a certain amount of time, the patient experiences it as distortion or
maybe an echo or...
not necessarily an echo. I think at 10 milliseconds, 10, 12 milliseconds, you really experience the echo more of it. But before you experience that echo as the patient, it's more of a distortion, an artifact, a tinniness.
Okay.
And it's been one of the biggest challenges in the industry up until now. And so we're finally able to provide a solution for that patient experience of, it might sound tinny or harsh to them. Instead, they put on this new device with the Moment chip, and it's incredible. It sounds so natural that when they put it on me, I wasn't even sure if it was on. And that's the experience we keep getting from patients along the way.
And that true acoustics, does that go in there with the artifact and making it more, is that integrated with the pure sound?
It's really integrated across the chip on that side, and not necessarily the same thing. More of a double-edged sword, something else we can do to customize the fit for our patients. So True Acoustics is taking into account all the new data points that we have for insertion loss and for what that patient's experiencing per tip. And when I say tip, I mean the dome that's going on the end of the hearing aid. It's going to fit differently in every single ear canal. And so we wanted to take that into account. And with True Acoustics, we can customize the fit to the patient through our feedback test and really measure what's leaking and how can we customize this fit to deliver the best sound quality we can.
So more personalized for the patient.
Absolutely. More personalized. And that's the name of the game, is we want to make sure we deliver that personalized fit to every single patient.
I know that there's a feature, sound personalization. Is that something that is in the software that I have to do, or something that the patient has control over?
Sound personalization, maybe it might be something slightly different.
Maybe something in the app.
Maybe sound personalization in the app. So what we're able to do in the app is we utilize SoundSense Learn. And so the patient in real time can use the machine learning aspect of the app to already improve their listening environment. If I get into a difficult situation with you in a restaurant, or maybe we're at an important event like a family reunion and you don't want to miss out on it, there's times when hearing aid patients struggle and no longer do they have to wait until Monday morning to call you about the clinic. Instead, they're able to make that change in the moment and help their hearing for the whole event.
Yeah.
You don't have to sit there and struggle and really look back on the event dreadfully.
Is that, I think I've seen that somewhere. The patients can go into the app and actually go through a couple of steps, kind of like which one's better.
Yeah, it's likened a lot to when you go to the optometrist, and a lot of people are really familiar with that testing as an A to B comparison.
Right.
So when you're in that app, you're able to easily choose between A and B and just say which one sounds better to you as the patient. And by making that choice, you really don't have to be a sound engineer or know anything about acoustics, but you know at the end of it, it's going to sound better.
Here it is. Yeah. So A and B comparisons, and then once you get there and you're happy with what it's doing, it stays there, and you have that immediate adjustment.
You got it, and it actually makes a brand new program in the app right there on the fly. And so to give them that success, you're able to do tons of things like name that program. You can geotag that program so that anytime they're in a difficult situation in that same place, it automatically goes to your new program.
Oh, okay.
And it's all based off of the program that you prescribe for them in the clinic. And so it gives them a great starting point. But if they're struggling, we have a solution for them right then.
Talk about the levels that are available and the styles in the Moment.
Sure. Yeah. So it comes in 4 levels of technology: a 110 to a 440. 440 being our premium, and 110 being the entry level technology. And when we look at the different form factors, we're going to have a RIC 10, really the smallest RIC on the market.
It is pretty small. I'm going to bring it.
A RIC 10, you might need a microscope to see.
Yeah.
It's great for those patients that might be worried about the cosmetics. We have a RIC 312D that's going to use the 312 battery and have all of the great features that we can put into a hearing aid. We have the lithium ion, as you mentioned. It's we call that our MRIC, and then the custom lineup.
Okay.
So across those different factors, there's a form factor and there's a technology for every single patient that walks in the door, so that when they leave, they're going to be hearing better. One of the biggest things I'd say to my patients when they came into the clinic, and it wasn't always with Widex, but the great part with Widex was I was able to trust if I fit them with an entry level all the way to premium, when they walked back out that door, they're going to be successful, and we were able to meet their budgetary needs, but we're also able to meet their prescriptive needs through the hearing aid.
And they're still getting that natural sound, even with the lower 2 levels there.
That's a great question, Philip. So with that, we're able to deliver not only pure sound, not only our proprietary tinnitus program we call Zen, but tons of other features that typically aren't involved in an entry-level product. And so I think we have one of the most robust offerings for an entry-level patient that may not have the budget for a premium product, but we still care and we still want them to hear at the end of the day.
What would you say specifically the biggest differences maybe between the 2 lower levels and the 2 upper levels? Like what are they getting by going up to those 2 upper levels?
The 2 upper levels are really, you hear the term often, it has all the bells and whistles to make you successful. And yes, it has those bells and whistles, but what really sets it apart is going to be the sound classes that are available to that patient. So with the sound classes, it's going to adjust for your environment automatically. If you and I are in a social setting, if we're listening to music, if we're listening in a quiet situation, that hearing aid is going to do it automatically. And one of my biggest goals with any patient being fit with hearing aids is I'm trying to give them back the hearing that they remember.
Right.
When you and I walk into a new room, and I'm making assumptions, I don't think you have hearing loss based off our interactions. When I walk into a new room, I don't need to make adjustments for how I'm hearing in different situations. And I want my hearing aid that I fit on someone to be just as automatic and just as fulfilling to that patient. And that's what I tell them straight up. I want it to be transparent and fulfilling to them for what the needs they come into my clinic for, or a clinic for. And I think Widex is able to deliver that with 11 sound classes in the premium, and then it goes all the way down to 3 sound classes in the entry level.
Okay.
When we look at 3 sound classes, it's still a big impact on their life. What we're going to look at is music, quiet, and noise. 3 of the biggest factors for us being successful. I like to enjoy music. I want to be successful in conversation and noise and in quiet. When you say, okay, we marked off those 3, right? Well, when we look at 11 sound classes, you're thinking, well, where else can we look at? We start looking at things like urban, social, how much speech is in the environment. If you and I are having a conversation at a party, the hearing aid is going to view that completely different than if I'm just in a party situation, not having a conversation.
Getting very specific.
Exactly. So the more specific I can get, the more successful my patient can get. And it's not to say that the 110 isn't going to be successful. It's just that 440 is going to deliver really what a hearing aid at maximum capacity can do. And it's truly incredible. It can do things like in the music situation, it can pick what kind of music you're listening to and adjust accordingly.
Oh, wow.
If my wife makes me go to an opera, and I say makes me to, just because I probably don't appreciate it as much as others, or if my kids are in the car and they're rocking out to some Taylor Swift, I want that hearing aid to react differently. I don't want the opera to be handled the same way as Taylor Swift on the radio. Both are obviously successful, but we're going to handle them differently when we look at acoustics.
Right. And what specifically, when they come in with a 110 compared to a 440, what do I have control over as far as adjustments to those specific sound classes?
Yeah, so in the sound classes, we're going to look at really a scale for you in every single sound class. So 3 versus 11 in every step of the way. More comfort versus more audibility. And so when you're in that situation, maybe you come in and you're wearing the 110s and you say, I'm really struggling when I get to a restaurant. I can't quite hear my wife that well. When you go in, you can just scoot it over towards audibility. And at the same time, you can see exactly what's happening in the background, because in the Widex GPS Compass software, it's very transparent. We want the clinician to be very aware of what's happening, and so they can make the changes they want to for their patients.
So those specific situations that they're having
so
trouble
you don't feel handcuffed with an entry-level product. You actually feel empowered. And the biggest difference you'll see outside of sound classes is going to be the channels that you have available to program. So channels, for those that may be listening in, are going to be frequency bands that you can adjust. So if my hearing loss fluctuates between low and high frequencies, you really want as many bands as you can get so that you can customize it. Now, I probably phrased it wrong. You don't want as many as you can get. There's kind of a cap on it. And what we found to be the most successful for our patients is right there at 16 bands for the premium. Or I'm sorry, it's 15 in the Moment. And it's going to go to 6 bands in the 110. And then it goes 6, 10, 12, 15, because we asked about 110 through 440. And I don't want to neglect the others. With those different bands, it just gives you more ability to customize that fit prescriptively for your patient.
Let's talk about the capabilities of Bluetooth. So right now, is it a made for iPhone device, and they're coming out with more connectivity to Android devices? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a good question. So when we look at the Bluetooth capabilities, you have access to the robust app, whether it's Apple or Android. So if you want to do things like we call an HD locator, you can zoom that hearing aid microphones to focus in any direction you need to when you're wearing a pair. And you have full access to that. So if you want to change volume, program, SoundSense Learn, available to all cell phone users, provided it's not one that doesn't have the app capability. But when we look at app-based phones, and that's particularly where you're aiming the question, we have direct streaming from Apple. And in the coming future here pretty soon, the hardware is already in place, and we're waiting for a firmware update to have that Android direct streaming. So I'm really pleased with where that capability is going to be and where we're moving with the Moment product.
Good. Do we know when the Android streaming is going to come? Is that like within the year?
I don't have an exact date. I'm sure there is someone higher on the food chain that might, but I can't say that I have the answer today.
Okay. Let me see. Are there any other features that we're missing when talking about the Moment specifically or broad? I'm gonna take a look and see if we have any questions here on YouTube.
Sure.
Let's see.
It's a pretty robust product as far as all the different types of features. When you get to the
what about the for musicians? Because I've heard a lot about that. Widex is preferred with musicians. Why is that?
Widex has been preferred by musicians for quite a long time. A lot of times when Widex is mentioned, it's synonymous with a musician's hearing aid. And to me, that's really one of the biggest compliments that you can have is a musician has a keen ear for hearing sound quality. And if it's good enough for my musician patients, it's going to be good enough for everyone. And a big reason why those patients pick Widex is our sound window. When we're going all the way down to 5 dB and up to 113 dB, when we look at that sound window, we're able to include all parts of music, and we handle music a little bit different than other people. And we've taken it a step further over the years. It's not the same thing over and over. Like I said, in the 440s, it can tell what kind of music you're listening to and handle it appropriately. So when we open it up and have less compression and give them that full rich sound and the huge sound window that we're able to offer, the patients love it. And musicians time and time again will pick it almost every single time, at least in my experience.
Is there a specific model in the Moment lineup that you suggest for musicians, or are they pretty much all going to be able to do the same thing and provide the same sound quality?
That's a good question. I would say 110 through 440 musicians will be successful and absolutely love it. 440 is where it's going to start splitting contemporary versus classical processing. But in every single 110 through 440, we can add a music program that's manual, but it's also included in our automatic sound classes. So if music is in your environment and it's the sole signal, it's going to already switch to music. So like I said, when my patient goes into a new environment or in a concert, something like that, they shouldn't have to fiddle with the hearing aid. It's going to automatically process that music differently than they would have if it were a conversation.
And I wanted to also talk about the difference between the automatic program and the pure sound program, and the natural sound difference between those two can be the pure sound can provide a little bit more clarity and natural sound than maybe the automatic program can. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just want to offer a little bit of clarity so people are understanding. We call our classic processing universal. So that would be universal versus pure sound processing. And many patients prefer pure sound over universal, and it's actually 85% in the findings that we have. And so you're thinking, what's going on with the other 15% and who prefers what and why? And it's a great question, and it's one that should be answered there. So universal is geared towards a patient that has an occluded ear canal, one that might need a little more gain, a little more volume to be successful. And when the ear canal is occluded, we don't have to worry about processing speed quite as much. And the reason being, I still want fast processing, but at the same time, there's no comb filter effect that's going to occur. Like we visited earlier, that comb filter effect is because you have an open fitting and then you're processing the sound.
So all the sound's coming in through the microphone and not necessarily naturally through holes in the venting or...
Exactly. So if that ear canal is fully occluded and maybe you have a custom mold with no venting or very little venting, it's not as much of a concern. But if I have a dome, which is quite a few fits right now, at least in the American marketplace, a lot of fits are that dome that's on the end. And so we want to not only make the measurement to see what that dome is doing and what the insertion loss is, we want to be able to make the changes accordingly. And so if they have that custom fit on the end, they're going to be able to utilize the Pure Sound program. And it's for those patients that can.
Right. And really only the way to experience the difference between the two or the hearing aid itself is to actually come in and try the hearing aids.
Yeah, absolutely. So hearing truly is believing in this situation. I always would let my patients listen to 2 or 3 manufacturers. I would give them a recommendation professionally, but everyone hears a little bit differently. Whether it's objective or subjective, they're going to have a preference.
Right.
And I'm confident in Widex where if you give them a head-to-head competition with anyone, they're more than likely going to pick the Widex product because how good it sounds. But when we look at the difference between universal and pure sound, we do process the sound a little bit more in universal because we do have that time and the comb filter effect isn't as apparent. But the great part is if you go with pure sound on a daily basis, maybe use it 90–95% of the time, when you get into a really difficult situation, one, I'm confident that pure sound is going to do well. And we have research showing that it will perform just as well as other premium products without using the extra processing time that they're using. But I'm also going to give you universal. And so anytime in that phone app or in your program change on the device, you can switch to universal and utilize more directionality, more sound processing to give you an edge to be successful in those scenarios.
Okay.
But most of my patients that are wearing pure sound, very successful on a day-to-day basis and very rarely switch to universal because how much they love it in that new pure sound program.
Right. And you can even make it to where it's their default, right? To where the hearing aid turns on and it's automatically there.
You got it. A lot of times, if they do prefer that pure sound, they're not going to want to switch programs when they turn it on. Right when you pull it out of the charger or you put your battery in and it starts up, that patient's going to be in the preferred program that they like. And it can change. So maybe you try universal and you say, well, we'll see how this goes. You can always go back and switch pure sound to be program 1 or program 2 and let them have that.
Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions, either for myself or for Kyle, you can always email me and I can probably get in touch with him as well and answer any questions specifically. If you're looking at maybe trying the Widex Moment here in the office, I have several demos here. And like we said, the best way to find out the difference is to actually come in and wear the hearing aids. I allow you a week or two to take them out in your environments and see what the difference is. If you're already wearing hearing aids, or if this is your first time experience, come get tested, and we'll fit you with some moments to see the difference. I'm going to put our website down below and our phone number. Just give us a call. And like I said, any questions that you have about the technology levels, the specific technology inside of the Moment hearing aids, just let us know. Is there anything that you wanted to end with?
No, I think we touched on kind of the big factors going on, but it's really the Moment technology is for everyone. Yeah. And it's a technology that I've seen tons of success with, and I know that you will with your patients. So if you get the chance, come in, try it out. And I encourage you to try it compared to other manufacturers or anything on the market, because it delivers something that really nobody else can produce right now.
It really is you have to see it to believe it, or hear it to believe it.
Exactly, or see it. It's a good looking hearing aid on that side. So cosmetics matter, but at the end of the day, my goal was to make sure every one of my patients, or a patient that walks in your clinic, is successful and all their goals as far as hearing goes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kyle. I hope you come back soon. And like I said, any questions, or if you want to make an appointment to demo the Widex Moment, just give us a call.
Yeah, we're here. If you have any questions, happy to help.